It started on one of those nights when everything felt heavy, like the whole city was sitting on my shoulders. I'd just come off a 12-hour shift at the county hospital, still in my scrubs hair tied back in a loose bun, and all I wanted was a quiet meal at a diner called Marcy's off 5th. I picked the corner booth, low-light chipped Formica, the kind of place nobody bothers you. That's when I saw him. He was sitting 2 tables over, late 30s, tall, expensive navy suit, but his hands were trembling so hard his phone nearly slipped to the floor. He kept glancing at the door like someone was about to walk through and end his world. I've seen that look before when bad news hits a family member in the ER and they can't breathe. My instinct was to help, even though he was a stranger. Then 2 people came in dark coats, hard eyes scanning the room like hawks. The man in the suit stiffened. Next thing I know, he's at my table, leaning in so close I can smell his cologne. "I'm sorry to do this," he whispered, voice low and tight. "But could you pretend to be my girlfriend for the next few minutes?" I blinked. This had to be the weirdest pickup line I'd ever heard. But his eyes, bright blue, terrified, told me it wasn't a line. I slid over in the booth. "Sit down," I said quietly. He slid in, took my hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Thank you," he murmured. "I'm Lucas. Lucas Reed." The 2 in dark coats zeroed in. "Mr. Reed," the woman said coolly, "we need to talk." Lucas tightened his grip but kept his voice even. "I'm having dinner with my girlfriend right now. Whatever it is can wait." The man with her leaned forward. "This can't wait." My heart pounded, but my voice came out steady. "We're trying to have a private dinner. If you have business, call his office during business hours." For a second, nobody breathed. Then, like a switch flipping, the woman's eyes narrowed, and they both turned and left. Lucas exhaled like he'd been underwater. "You have no idea what you just saved me from," he said. Over coffee the next day, he told me the whole story. He was the heir to Reed Systems, a massive tech company, and his mother was pushing him into an arranged marriage with a woman named Vanessa Hart to solidify a business deal. Those people at the diner, her watchdogs. He asked me to pose as his girlfriend for a few weeks. Family dinners, charity events, the whole high society thing. I laughed at first, but he looked so lost and tired I couldn't say no. "Fine," I said, "but honesty. No weird power games. And when it's over, it's over." He smiled like he'd been thrown a lifeline. The first test was Sunday dinner at his family estate. Picture a mansion out of an old movie, white columns, manicured gardens, staff waiting at the door. His mother, Eleanor Reed, greeted me with a handshake so firm it felt like a challenge. Her eyes flicked over my dress, black simple borrowed, and then up to my face. "So you're the nurse," she said. "That must be demanding work." "It is," I replied, "but it's also rewarding." We sparred like that for an hour. Her polite barbs, my calm answers, until something softened, and she began asking about my patients, my mother, my life. By dessert, she was smiling. Lucas and I started to feel like a real couple, at least in public. He visited me at the hospital, brought coffee for the whole ER staff, learned my best friend's name. We'd talk in the patient garden about why I became a nurse and why he hated the corporate power games. He'd look at me like I was sunlight breaking through clouds. Then came the Hartwell Foundation gala gold chandeliers, champagne flutes, people who talk in numbers with too many zeros. I wore a navy gown Lucas picked. He wore a tux. Vanessa, the would-be bride, made her entrance in blood-red silk eyes like ice. "Oh," she purred, "so you're the nurse." I smiled sweetly. "And you must be the ex." Lucas wrapped an arm around my waist. "Amelia's very special to me." Vanessa's smile cracked just a little. That night, Lucas bid $30,000 on a medical mission trip for me, just because he'd seen me light up when they announced it. Nobody had ever done something like that for me. Walking out of that ballroom, I started to wonder if maybe this wasn't pretend anymore. But power doesn't let go easily. 2 days later, my hospital supervisor called me in anonymous complaints about my professionalism. Online tabloids calling me a gold digger. Meanwhile, Lucas's company was bleeding clients' confidential data, leaked contracts canceled overnight. Vanessa reached out, offering to save the company if Lucas agreed to marry her after all. I told him maybe we should quit the charade. He shook his head, eyes fierce. Don't let her win. For the first time in my life, I feel like myself with you. That night he whispered, I'm falling in love with you. And just like that, I knew I was too. The smear campaign got uglier. I was suspended from the hospital. Lucas was called to an emergency board meeting. Everything we'd built was unraveling. Then an unexpected ally appeared, Vanessa's younger brother, Mark. He'd been forced out of the family business, sick of her manipulation. He handed Lucas a thick envelope, emails, bank transfers, recordings, all proving she'd orchestrated the leaks, bribed insiders, and planted stories about me. I'm tired of being ashamed of my family, he said. We took it to the district attorney. Within days, Vanessa was indicted on multiple charges. Clients returned. The hospital apologized and offered me a promotion. Eleanor Reed called me personally, family dinner, celebration, just us. That Sunday at the estate was different. Warm, real, no chess moves. Over wine, Eleanor said, I've been too controlling. You've made my son happier than I've ever seen him. Then she added with a little smirk, I want to be involved in planning the wedding. Lucas nearly choked. That night in the garden under fairy lights, Lucas took my hands. This started as pretend, he said, but I don't want to pretend anymore. When he went down on one knee, my whole world tilted. Will you marry me, Amelia? He asked, voice trembling. Will you build a real life with me? I said yes, before my brain could catch up. 6 months later, we were married on the same lawn where we'd first stood together. Mark was one of Lucas's groomsmen. My best friend from the hospital was my maid of honor. Eleanor walked me down the aisle since my own mom had passed the year before. Lucas vowed that pretending to love me had taught him what real love meant. I vowed that helping a stranger in crisis had led me to the greatest love of my life. But here's the part I didn't see coming. Even after the wedding, people online kept debating whether I'd trapped him, whether a nurse could ever really fit in his world, whether a billionaire could truly love someone like me. And maybe that's why I'm telling you this, not to prove anything, but because I want you to feel what I felt in that diner booth. The moment when you're exhausted, invisible, and someone looks at you like you're the only person who can save them. Would you have said yes to a stranger that night? Would you have risked your reputation to help someone climb out of a life they didn't choose? And what does it say about us that people are more scandalized by a nurse falling in love with a billionaire than by a billionaire trying to buy a wife? Comment below. Tell me if you think love can really bridge power and class, or if I was just lucky. Tell me about the time you stood up to someone who tried to control you, or helped a stranger when everyone else looked away. Because at the end of the day, stories like mine aren't just about fairy tale romance. They're about choosing your own path, about refusing to let anyone write your story for you, and about believing that sometimes the wildest, most unexpected moments can lead to the truest kind of freedom.